So we got this lovely message. Would everyone like to cough again over me, just quickly?
And literally, we
I
barely
need to get out
started
of
the
that
thing.
system.
Stop hitting the table, Marli.
I'm sorry.
You just did it again. Okay.
Someone tie my hands.
Sit on your hands. Sit on, don't touch her.
Okay, it's not
Sit
that
on
kind
her.
of show, guys. Marli wants her hands tied.
The great thing is, this will be published, and everyone will be like, "Yeah, that makes sense for them." Like that is very
Wait, are
Five
we
Breakfast.
recording?
Yes, Marli. Okay.
Oh,
We got this
Wait.
beautiful message. Oh, now we're doing our hair.
I didn't know.
Okay.
Okay.
Doing this now.
I can't do no small talk, no small talk. I'm not with the small talk. Can't be with the small talk.
So we got this beautiful message. It says, you know what I would like to hear from the Five Breakfast team in an open, unscripted chat is how the diversity of the team has been for everyone. It's a touchy subject for some people, but you guys were brought together from extremely different backgrounds, having never met before. And most of the times when I listen, I hear you guys having fun and learning from each other, but you possibly don't realize how much you are doing so. So that's what we're going to talk about. Thabo, you're going last.
Oh, thank you. I thought it was study vines all over again.
No, you're only going last because you joined the show late.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Holly, when you got the call from Five, what went through your head? And then when you found out about the team?
Sure. I think maybe let's start chatting about, the first time that we actually met, because I didn't know who I was going to be working with on the team, right? So then I see Dan. And the first thing that comes to mind, I know they always say, don't judge people in terms of how they look, how they sound, but immediately you find yourself in that kind of space in a room where you're like, oh, wow, I'm going to be working with a white man. And also when you are a black woman, it also means certain things, So when we started chatting, you obviously then just realize how different we are, not only in terms of how we were raised, but how we perceive the world. And later on, we met Marli. It's like, oh, this is interesting. A white Afrikaans woman, But I found solace in the fact that there would be a woman on the show, because I'm one person that likes to work with women. And now it makes sense why we always want to find ourselves in rooms with people that look like us, So this already was going to be such a challenge, because I was now going to have to share opinions, spend time with people that were so different from me. And you try and figure out in your head whether or not they will even find commonalities with you, whether you will see things in the same way. But as time went on, I realized that was the beauty of our differences, the fact that I could learn from you guys and not necessarily wanting to find myself in a space where there were other women and other black women.
Interesting. I mean, I always remember when Fafi happened. You guys remember Fafi? When Marli and I found out what Fafi was. And Thabo and Xoli were in hysterics. And it was funny for me because that has become a joke on the show. And maybe that's exactly what you're talking about is when you spend enough time with people, you develop a common community with a common set of references and a common set of in-jokes. And you know that everyone's got different upbringings, but it's appreciated, I think. Also the fact I came from Cape Town. You were born and raised in Soweto. Your family is from KZN, ancestrally. The only black people I had ever really spent time with significantly in the Western Cape spoke isiXhosa. Suddenly I was in a part of the world where many black South Africans have no clicks in their languages. It was a huge trip. Guys, when I had a name in front of me that I didn't recognize and I didn't know that it was a Sotho name, I was going, I was 100%.
Yeah. Really?
And I had to learn that, which is a wild thing, coming from Cape Town and being a white boy from the southern suburbs who went to UCT and did a year of isiXhosa and then kind of arrived in Johannesburg and realized that, it was so much more complicated. You know what I'm saying?
And it was such a weird thing. Sorry to interrupt you there, Dan, because when I first met you, I didn't even expect you to get the pronunciation of my name right.
Yeah.
For me, it was, okay, I'm going to be working with this white guy who's going to call me Xoli.
Or
and it's
Collie.
okay. Or Collie or Xoli or whatever the case
Yeah, I
is.
hear you.
And I was immediately impressed with the effort that you made and how you were able to make the click. And then it also forced me to make sure that I pronounce Marli also in the right way, because I thought it was Marli all along, you know, and just that getting our names correctly, you know, it was also such a big thing, you know, in us just showing that we really do respect one another.
And I think that's also one of the things that, you know, you do have certain preconceptions about people. Like, I thought, okay, Dan comes from Cape Town. He's white. He can probably speak a bit of Afrikaans. I didn't think, Xoli, you would be able to speak Afrikaans.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Matty also, you also, and then all three of you have spoken better Afrikaans than Dan. And it's just those weird preconceptions that you have. And Dan was actually the one that struggled to pronounce my name.
Do you remember that
yeah.
face twitch I used to have? I was like,
Especially with my surname. I think just my name was fine, but
No.
there was something with my surname.
I couldn't roll the R.
Yeah.
I could do a long R, but Marli is such a small one for months. Yo.
Because I remember I used to tell my mom, like, Xoli says my name best, because you were like, Marli. Like, you said that part, and I was like, oh,
I was practicing Marli.
yeah. And I was glad your name starts with an X, because at least I can do that.
Yeah.
But I was just like, please, there shouldn't be someone with a name with the Q. I'm not even going to try and do it now. I'm still practicing. So it is like all of those things. You want to be respectful. You don't want to offend. And sometimes you don't even know what is offensive, because it's so new, and you just feel like a deer in bright lights. Like, oh, these are my friends. And it's so new.
Holly, you often get surprised when Marli and I don't, or like Marli knows something that I don't, and I think it's because of maybe this notion that happens in South Africa that all white people know all white people stuff and all black people know all black people stuff.
Oh yeah.
And like when I was growing up, I had no, how can I say, like proper white Afrikaans friends at all in Cape Town, not even one. And so, Marli, I have learned so much about what it means to be a white Afrikaans person from you that never even appeared in my whole life until I was 27. Even though we're both white, come from Cape Town, went to like Model C schools or whatever, it's wild.
Yeah, and I think that the same for me. I also don't have a lot of English white friends. Like back in Cape Town, I had more people of coloured friends who speak Afrikaans, because actually the majority of the biggest group of Afrikaans speaking people are actually coloured people, not white people. So I had a lot of friends that are coloured but not actually white friends. So it is like, I don't know, like between the group, I remember I resonated with Matty most, because I also had a thing, Xoli, at least there's more women. Like, I just felt like, okay, a man, not intimidating, but it's just like, okay, you're not surrounded by, like, okay.
By men,
okay, there's more girls. And like, I resonated more with the girls as opposed to you, because, I don't know, it's weird, because you would think it's the other way around.
It's like a whiteness thing.
Yeah, but...
Although you did famously say within 4 months of meeting me that you'd never date an English white boy.
Oh.
Like, famously.
Really,
Marli was
Marli?
like, I would never.
I think because, I just had experiences at varsity where I was like, I went to dances with English guys, and I was just like, nah, they don't have manners. But I've gone on a date with an English guy, so...
Oh, wow.
And that's a date I told you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so different, because when we started working together at Thabo, I just had that assumption, which is the same that I had with Dan and Marli, that they would know so much about each other, they shared things, they've got things that they would chat about. And I assumed the same with you. I thought we would be able to just chat in vernac, that you and I would have our things going. And Thabo is so different to, if I can even say this, other black people, where Thabo just speaks English. And for me, it's just like, wow. And when I think about the fact that you grew up also in a township, I still can't. It
Quite
still
understand,
it
yeah.
doesn't make sense to me. You know.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, this show has been like this immersive cultural experience because obviously, I mean, I'm from Pretoria. I always talk about this, and I went to a multicultural school. You know, with a lot of Afrikaans, English, black people, but at the same time, as much as we're both black, you're from Joburg, I'm from Pretoria. There's that difference as well.
Yeah.
Marli and Dan are from Cape Town, but there's also still unique cultural differences in everybody. So having to learn about things like very Cape Townian things has been kind of eye-opening, but at the same time you realize, I think, in how we engage each other and how we like comfort each other and laugh, we're more alike than we are different.
Yes.
And I think that's where the comfort comes in. It's like this perfect paradox where we're all different, but at the same time we're still all very much alike.
Emotional wrecks.
Except
for Collie. Except for Collie.
And there's certain like small things that are the same but not the same. Like, what was that word the one day that we
Chachara.
Oh, yeah.
Where all of us were like, yeah, but you guys had a certain connotation
Meaning,
to the word,
yeah.
and we had a certain connotation,
Yeah.
but
100%.
all of us knew the word. So it's always nice, those little moments where we're like, oh, that's so cool. And especially I've noticed, only between our cultures, there are a lot of similarities actually. And both you and I are quite religious and grew up in very religious, traditional families. Like, I grew up in a traditional Afrikaans family. You grew up in a traditional black family. So I always find it so amazing when you talk about going to church or certain things you do with your family that I'm like, oh, that's actually, how can I put this? I'm weird. A black person actually having exactly the same types of rituals. Like, that is quite interesting.
It's one thing that I've also appreciated about you and your upbringing, because I didn't quite realize how strict your family was and how strict your upbringing was, which is something that has made me also lean closer to you, because I've always wanted to surround myself with people that are also from like strict and cultured kind of, backgrounds. And when it's like white and black, you always feel, in my mind, I always just feel like white people can do whatever they want, like there is no stop or start, or whereas with us, this is how you do things, this is how you approach elderly people. And that has been so fascinating to find out about you, because Dan, it also sounds like, in terms of how you grew up, you kind of, yes, there was strictness, but you could live your life. I mean, there was a point where you were off to America for for something, and whereas with us, it's not really quite the norm.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I mean, I was raised in a very, very, my parents will listen to this.
You can out them.
It wasn't, okay, this is it. It wasn't like hyper free, do whatever you want, hands off parenting. It was like a weird kind of progressive parenting, where it was like, we as the parents have really thought about all the things, and we want to give you enough space to do what you want to do in these scenarios. Obviously, there's punishment and there's things that you're just not allowed to do under any circumstances. You have to be respectful and all of that. But a lot of it was like, not quite choose your own adventure, but like within these very broad boundaries, become who you are as a person. It was very non-prescriptive, right? So they, for better or worse, allowed me to make a bunch of extremely high-risk decisions that could have gone very badly. They supported me getting educations that weren't going to directly lead to a vocation, to a job. And they supported me when I changed my university direction many, many times. Now, part of that is the fact that both of my parents are lecturers, but also that means that we get, I was, when you're the child of an academic, you only pay 25% of fees. So that financial burden wasn't insane. But if it had been, it would have been a very different conversation. But their idea was always like, they
support you.
Well, no, they were like, we wish everyone would be able to study longer and figure out what they wanted to do. And so we wish everyone like you didn't have this financial pressure. So go figure it out. Now, I definitely would have become a lawyer if radio hadn't worked out, guaranteed, because that's just what I would have done. But radio happened before all of those things.
You would have been one irritating lawyer. I'm sorry.
I would have been good though.
Can you imagine?
I think you would have thought you could. But that's the thing about lawyers. They think they're good.
I would have won some cases. Thabo, what was it like when you knew you were coming on the show but we hadn't met yet and you were listening?
Okay, so I had never. Okay, in case people don't know, so my predecessor and I used to work together, and I remember she had gotten the job, and I was really happy for her. And then I sent my stuff, and I get the call, but you obviously don't know if you got the job yet, so I haven't sent my resignation letter before. And then the day I went to go meet our bosses, okay, I listened to the show for the first time, and it was
so rude.
Yeah.
Oh no, you were already working on a breakfast show somewhere else.
I was on another breakfast
So
show.
you
and
weren't invested in
Marli, what else could I do? But I was listening, and it was karaoke. I'll never forget. It was the Elton John and Dua Lipa song.
Oh, call out.
And then you're talking about the booty roll. I was listening all the way because just in case they ask me about the show, and I know. And then I meet with them, and then I think maybe like a couple of days later, they called me. They said, "Listen, okay, you've got the job," and I was like, "Yay!" Then I went on Instagram and I stalked each and every one of you. And that made me even more nervous.
Oh, you were more nervous
for the meeting.
Why?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, your Instagram is very intimidating.
Yeah, and I think I hadn't seen Marli's one yet. I hadn't seen Marli's one, but I'd
Marli
seen
doesn't
yours.
post.
I do post.
No.
Thabo doesn't post. You did start now.
Yeah, I
You
did start now.
posting.
But I remember seeing yours, and I'm like, okay, she has an MBA. She does radio.
Ah,
She does
yeah,
sports.
me
She owns a
too.
restaurant.
And a farm.
Okay. All I have is a SIM card.
No, you had multiple SIM cards. Remember? Yeah.
We couldn't call you. There were like 7 numbers.
So that's so true. I'm interrupting you now, but that's so true for me as well because I feel like although I was also appointed at the same time as you guys, I got in Joburg a
2
month
weeks
later.
Yeah.
So I was broadcasting with you remotely. So every day I spoke to these people where I've only seen their photos on social media. And I also remember I was like, I don't know, again, Matty looked the most approachable. I was like, Xoli, you look like the serious businesswoman. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm scared of her. She looks intimidating. She looks like she's got her life together. She looks like she has been doing this for decades. Like, I'm going to come there, like, laughing and just, I was so scared. I was also Dan, like, I'm aware Dan has already worked at another commercial station.
International
and-
documentaries.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
like, my mom, Dana will never forget this. My mom was like, he's good looking. I was like,
Ooh.
Mom, I can't even worry about things like that. I'm just worried about how
That's
are those
funny.
people? How am I going to speak English to them? Like, it was intimidating seeing people, and then you kind of need to form a personality.
You were so nervous, you told us later, of the first meeting.
Guys, I was sitting in my car
breakfast.
to meet you guys, and I was sweating. I think I wiped my face like 4 times.
Okay.
I was like wiping my face, and then I went to the restaurant and I just stood there, and then I saw you, Dan. You were like wearing your glasses, but I was like, okay, there's the woke redhead guy,
Red.
and I went to go meet Dan, and then we sat down. And then you guys came, and I think I sweated a little bit, but that was the one thing I was I was so nervous that I was kind of guarded. You know, I was just like, Thabo, do not laugh, do not swear, don't say anything inappropriate.
Yeah.
You need to be filtered, you know, because this is with the big bosses, this is with the team. I wanted to make sure you guys kind of liked me.
Yeah.
But then I learned later that you guys thought I was pretty boring, and I understand I'm pretty much was.
No, it's just because you were so restrained. Like,
I was.
I think
It's not that we didn't like. It's
you
just
were
there
very
was,
different.
I was very
we were,
different.
yeah, we were just
And
like,
even-
he's like me.
he's just there. But once you removed all
Yeah.
the shackles and just became yourself, not only did we love you, but the whole country
Yeah.
obviously adores you.
Yeah.
Like, how long did it take for you to feel comfortable with us being so different to each other, but also to you?
I think it was. I think just before my 1 month anniversary.
Oh, that's quick.
Because you
Yo,
kind
we're
of
an easy date, eh?
No, I think it's because of the trips that we had.
Definitely the
Because when
trips.
you arrived, we were touring the country.
The
Yeah.
second day already,
the
wasn't it?
second day we were going to
Yeah.
Durban. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Driving to Durban, it was a road trip
Yeah.
on your second day of work.
Yo,
now you're
crazy.
forced to sit there, chat with us.
Yeah, and it was jarring for me because, you know, growing up, when I was like in high school, for example, I grew up in an environment where I had to suppress who I was. I couldn't laugh very loud. I couldn't talk. You couldn't talk a certain way. You had to really, you know, act a specific way. And here I am now at a radio station that broadcasts to 1 million people. And I just decided, okay, I'm going to be myself. I'm not going to be this guarded. I'll laugh the way I want to laugh. If I find something funny, I'll laugh at it. If I have an opinion, I'll express it, obviously filtered, because some opinions are very controversial. But it has been really a beyond liberating experience.
Oh, good.
It really has been. I finally feel like I have, in a certain way, kind of found my voice, because before that, I had to be obviously the serious news person. Sure, there's like a hint of who you are every now and then, but you have to be very serious, and because you're going to tell people about what's happening in the news. But this show has really has been this perfect outlet for me to find show while I help maintain the integrity of the news as a newsreader. I can still be myself, in a way that's not complicated and just easy. Yeah.
I really have noticed in the last few months how we as a team, because we spend so much time together, and obviously we spend so much time together, and Marli is right when she always talks about the fact that this is a very lucky team because we all genuinely really enjoy each other's company, and sometimes there'll be a post-show meeting and then it'll end and then everyone will just sit around for an hour and a half, and I've literally never been in a team like this before, so I do feel like very, very, very blessed to be in this team. But something that I've noticed in the last 4 to 6 months is that we have formed a common sense of humor. Now, let me try and explain that. I think when we arrived, I vividly remember some of my jokes you didn't find funny. And I was like, that's fine. It's totally fine.
I still don't find it.
I think it's also just we were so awkward. So
Yes.
that I don't get the joke, but I'm supposed
Exactly.
to laugh. So.
And everyone had and continues to have their own humor style. But because we spent so much time together, sure, being very different at the beginning and remain very different and unique and authentic to ourselves. But like we've developed a very specific common language of humor, which is very familial, which just comes from liking each other and spending a lot of time together. But now genuinely there are things that they weren't in my humor life. Like I just didn't find them particularly funny. And then Xoli will say something or Thabo and I'll kill myself laughing, right? And then, you two in particular have developed like your own style of humor that you two both love. And you two only do it with each other. And everybody loves laughing along with you guys, which is, I think humor is a really, really beautiful thing when so many people get it.
And that's actually so weird because I have a tendency to be sarcastic. Like I remember when I was in residence, there was also, and it goes very spontaneous. Like with some people, you would just talk normally, and weirdly with other, you would kind of have that sarcastic thing would start. And I don't know where it started with us.
Yeah.
Just like randomly, we started like being a bit sarcastic, and then more sarcastic, and then we're like fake fighting, and it's the weirdest. I know it's the weirdest thing for other people to see because they're like, "What is going on?"
Is there tension?
Yeah. Like, is there tension? What? But I don't know. It's such a freeing thing, and especially for us doing such an early morning show, you need a way to get energy or just to like be silly, be awake. So. I don't know. We are crazy. But
No, we really are. And I've also loved how I've been able to kind of let my guard down, because in the beginning, I kind of wanted to assume the leader role, because I knew that I was like 2-3 years older than you guys. So I was just like, oh, now I'm in a situation where I have to be the older sister again, the big sister. So I can't be the one who's laughing around, I need to lead by example. And so when you guys talk about how I look like the scary one, it's because I've always needed to be scary in my life, because I've always had to be the leader in everything that I do. You set the example. You're the one that graduates. You're the one that buys a property. You're the one that does this, And then I just started to realize that actually you guys are my friends. And I remember vividly on air saying, you guys are not friends. You're not allowed in my house. And now we're planning on, just organizing a dinner, and us, just visiting one another. So it's just been so beautiful to let my guard down and let you guys in. And it's something that I never saw happening.
And it's a process of trust. Like I think, because that's always what I told my parents, like, I love everyone in the team. It's not that we were scared of you. You were I could see you were a bit mature. You were professional. And I think it's also maybe the past work environments we come from. Like I came from a campus radio station where I had this vibe a little bit. I mean, Archie was on my team. The other girl was a black girl. So we kind of had that. Now I just had it at national level, and you have been in this industry for very long. You know it's a cutthroat industry.
Yeah.
You can't always trust everyone. So I remember you were never mean or anything. You just had a very this is work. I'm professional. I do my job, and I'm Xoli, so I do it. I almost wanted to swear. I do it.
You can, right?
You can. It's unscripted.
Oh, yeah.
I do it damn well.
Oh, that's not a swear word. I was hoping for something.
Xoli doesn't like swear words.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Blasphemy.
I'm not gonna put that to a character. But so I was like, I always looked up to you, and I was like, yo, this girl she's got her life together. Never cries, and
Composure.
Yeah.
Composure.
Yeah.
And I think the more we started to trust each other, it started evolving naturally.
Totally. The one thing that you guys know about me, which is why our shows, I think it's fair to say, are different from other shows any of us has ever done, is that what I want to create is an environment where we trust each other and we take risks. So very often if something happens on AO Midlink, I'm like, we're going to follow this. But that requires us to trust each other. And just speaking about the development of trust, because I think that is a fundamental part of the risks that we take every day on air, is trusting each other to just kind of go for it. I also, when I arrived, I had always been the kid who wasn't supposed to be getting these opportunities. Even at my previous radio station, there were so many people saying, why did he get that? He didn't deserve that. Oh, he's so terrible. The kind of background noise in my head was oh, once again, immediately everyone's going to say this kid has not got anything. Who is he? He's ruining the station, all of this stuff. And I was completely committed to this way of making radio, almost to a fault. But it meant that I was so terrified of it failing, so terrified of it falling flat, and so fearful of trusting you guys because I didn't know who you were. But I needed to trust you guys, and I needed to be no, they can do it. They can do it. I can do it with them. We can do this together. It's not going to be perfect every single day, but we will get there. And I'm really pleased to say that after so hundreds of shows and more than 2.5 years and now awards and things, which is so cool, we've got to that point. Even though I knew it would be painful, I didn't realize how much of a serious project of building it is. And I think it also links back to what you were saying, Thabo, about trusting us that you can just be yourself and be your own voice for the first time too.
Yeah, definitely. But also, I think this is a very intimate job, so you can't.
Okay, just explain that.
Oh my goodness, nobody's taking off their clothes unless it gets
No
hot.
one is standing.
Yes.
Oh my word.
But you're right. It's only 4 of us in a room spending hours a day
And
together.
I always tell people, because people don't really understand radio. I feel like I also still don't understand it. Radio is a contrast for me. Yes, we only work 3 hours a day, but people don't understand those 3 hours is a performance. You don't go ask the Springboks, oh, what are you doing after your game? It's just an hour and a half long, eh? Are you doing a 9 to 5 after that?
Yeah.
No, they are exhausted from that one game. And it's the same with, you come here, you are tired, and you need to have energy. You need to step it up. We have all gone through bad times. You, me as well. And now you need to sit there and you need to put a smile on your face because you can't sulk every day. And I think that also brought us closer together because we had to carry each other off air.
Shared struggle.
Yes, we had to carry each other off air. And then the moment you go on, it's okay, we've got you. There's times I've cried, I can't remember who else have
I've
cried.
cried.
We've all cried off air, and then as soon as the
I hate to
microphone.
admit that I did.
No, don't hate to admit it.
But it is the intimacy thing. You're right.
Yeah,
because
it's-
ultimately, it's 4 of us in a very small room, and we're live to a whole country of people who we can't see. And so we don't get to look at the audience or feel oh, there's a bigger project. It's just it's just the 4 of us, guys. And it's live. So it's a level of trust, and we see each other more than we see anyone else in our lives because of how much time we're spending here.
And we see each other at our worst.
Yeah.
I made this joke the other day. Whenever Xoli and I come with makeup to work nowadays, you guys are hi, you have, where are you going? When we started.
Or even if it's a new item of clothing.
Yeah.
Anything.
When we started, we had the makeup on.
happening?
No, but it's we obviously, I think it is a thing for women. We feel you need to be put together.
Yeah.
I've never gone to a job without makeup. Like, so it was so weird. Like, I remember we dressed up, and then slowly but surely, those early mornings, especially winter, when you're just rushing to get to studio, then, okay, your hair's not washed. Now, okay, Xoli hasn't got that many makeup on anymore. Okay, maybe I can also tone it down. Like,
I mean, I even shaved my hair, and I was comfortable coming to studio without a wig on.
yeah, and then so now we don't come to studio with makeup at all.
Yeah.
We wear tracksuits. Like, where in what other job
Yeah,
do you get that?
exactly.
Like,
no, you're right.
it's
very
a weird, intimate.
weirdly. Please,
setting.
please talk to us about okay, so we're almost out of time, but like take us home with that thing about the intimacy of the job.
Well, I think definitely when you're almost kind of forced to be vulnerable, to be open with people, and it just naturally comes out the more as you engage. I found with me, because I think I was with you guys for like a month, and then I think you guys already knew my whole life story because, like you said, I'm in a room with all these people, but also you guys also created this environment that it allowed me to kind of be vulnerable and open up. So I think that's what makes it so, so friendly, and the reason why I was so close. Fine, it is intimate, but it's because of the people that create that kind of environment. So that was, yeah.
Unity and diversity. Hashtag Mandela miracle. Hashtag Mandela's dream.
Rainbow Nation.
Ubuntu.
And we use that so lightly, but it's so important for us to look beyond physical appearances, because you will miss out on just great human beings because this person is white, this person is male, this person has a different sexuality, this person is young or older. We limit ourselves just because we want to be in the same room with people that look like ourselves. I wouldn't have learned so much if I wasn't paid with you guys. I know that for a fact. You have changed the way I look at things, the kind of music that I even like, and it's just like the daily interactions, even the food. I've tasted ice creams that I shouldn't have tasted because of the likes of Dan, so it's just it's so important for us to look beyond the shell.
Yeah, not
Nice.
least because you walk out of that with great in-jokes.
Hey, what's up?
But I think like that's the thing. Would we have become friends?
No, absolutely not.
No,
Outside and no,
never.
Yeah,
we would have,
Never.
and not even just because of race and gender. Just our personalities are so different.
Yeah.
But we were forced to sit in a room and fake a friendship, and
No, we were.
like,
we really
let's
were.
be
That's
honest.
the job.
Let's be
That's
honest.
the
That's what I
whole
tell
job.
people. I tell people like, you're sitting here with complete strangers. Sitting
And you're
here-
laughing about
and
the
then-
country. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and you're scared. I was scared of black people in the sense where I don't want to say anything that offends. And what if you think I'm racist? And actually, I didn't mean it like that. Maybe it's just because I can't speak English properly. But now you go in area like, oh yeah, and we had to fake that. And
Yeah.
I think because we all had a willingness to actually learn from each other,
Yeah.
that turned into a real friendship. And
Now we're gonna hug it out off camera.
Don't come near me.
Cut.
okay, guys, let's go. Taking over.
Literally, the take is over.
Oh, can't stand you guys.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for listening to our little love-in.
An hour and 20 minutes.
That's
good.
34.
This is 5